Lieutenant Governor.
Hi there.
Hey, Braxton.
Where do you think you're going? Yeah. You're gonna-
Hi there. My name is John Burkhan. I'm a lawyer for the campaign. Today, as everyone saw, the Board of Elections denied and rejected the objection that was raised to the Lieutenant Governor's qualification for the ballot. The Lieutenant Governor is on the ballot. She had been already qualified for the ballot by the Secretary of State after the boards of canvassers across the state had reviewed the petition signatures, and today, again, the Board of Elections confirmed that, and the Lieutenant Governor will be on the ballot.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you, all of you, for being here today. I want to begin by thanking the people of Rhode Island for their patience as we have been working to understand this situation. While we do not know every detail, I want to share what we know. After this statement, my team and I are happy to answer your questions. This week, we have heard reports that a vendor hired by my campaign to help collect signatures engaged in a widespread and outrageous attempt to defraud my campaign, the people of Rhode Island, and the democratic process. Let me be clear. I did not ask for that. I did not need this. This doesn't help me or my campaign. Nonetheless, this betrayal of trust was in the name of my campaign, and for that, I'm deeply sorry that this happened. I hold myself and everyone on my campaign to the highest ethical standards. My campaign provided clear instruction to this vendor and everyone who collected signatures for us. These individuals disregarded our campaign's instruction. They betrayed the trust of my campaign and may have broken the law. That vendor has been fired. I have ordered my campaign to prepare all relevant documents for the Attorney General's investigation. Anyone who has broken the law must be held accountable for their actions. I came to this country when I was a young woman because I knew that America was the country where everybody's voices was heard. This is the greatest democracy on earth. And that's why I'm so disappointed that some of my opponents have spent this past week politicizing these unfortunate events for their own political gain. These guys didn't have the facts. No one did. This fraud hurts all of us, and using it for political attacks to try to help themselves is shameful. I expect those Washington-style attacks from the MAGA Republicans, but not from my fellow Democrats who I have always treated with respect. Rhode Islanders want us focused on them, no fighting with each other. That's why I have been running a positive campaign, talking about the issues that Congress needs to address. Good jobs, reproductive freedom, common sense gun safety, and protecting our rights, our freedom, our democracy. I have served in public office for 12 years as city councilor, as council president, and now as lieutenant governor. I have the experience and the record to make a difference in Congress on day one. Thank you, now I'm glad to answer.
Lieutenant Governor, what
Are
can you
you
say to
trying to
this
claim that
throwing
somebody
your
is on purpose?
One at a time, guys. We will get your questions in. we promise.
Lieutenant Governor, what do you say to this throwing your campaign into chaos? You have an AG criminal investigation, now the referral today of all the signatures to the AG's office. How can you run an effective campaign when the specter is hanging over you of both the criminal and procedural investigations?
The people of Rhode Island know me. I have a track record that they can look at. They know the work that I have done first at the local level in the city council and now as lieutenant governor. So I'm confident that we're gonna be running a strong campaign and we're gonna win this campaign.
If there's criminal charges regarding someone, a vendor, the campaign does stop with you. Will you remain in office as lieutenant governor if there are criminal charges under your campaign?
Let's be clear. My campaign is not under investigation. A vendor that my campaign hires under investigation. And that-
Do you think
Are you
people
Lieutenant
could,
Governor, they did something on purpose?
Your campaign, in terms of the contract with the vendor for signatures, were they paid by the gross signature? Were they only paid on verified signatures? And how much were they paid for per signature?
I think Preston can speak to that.
So I can, Brexton can tell you the details. We just hired them on a per hour rate, but Brexton was can tell you. Brexton's my campaign manager, can tell you.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. Yes, the vendor was not paid per signature. It was, the field workers were paid on an hourly basis.
And were there
But one
BCI
of-
checks done on any of these folks before they were hired? Or any type of criminal checks before they were put out onto the street to collect signatures, ostensibly at people's homes?
We trust that the vendors that we hire work with integrity and work with honesty.
Brexton, the person who submitted some of these forms worked for the McKee campaign that you were also the manager of. So these people were not strangers, correct? You knew who they were?
Some of the folks involved with the vendor were well-known field workers in Democratic politics.
So what are you suggesting happened here? Do you think they purposefully did something wrong?
I don't think we're in a position to speculate, and we don't have enough information to speculate as to the motivation here. All we can say is that they broke our trust and clearly did not follow the instructions we gave them on how to properly collect signatures.
Sabina, this woman, Holly, she was paid by the McKee administration, your McKee campaign. What was she paid to do for the McKee campaign?
I unfortunately can't speak to that. I'd refer those to the.
She was paid though, when you were part of that. So what was she paid to do? Was she was paid to collect ballots, correct?
Field work, phone banking, canvassing.
Mail ballots.
Field work, phone banking,
So
canvassing.
she didn't do any mail ballots.
I can't speak to the specific work that she did last year other than field work.
But you know she'd been arrested for forgery in New Hampshire, correct?
No,
You would
no.
hire her.
No,
You
no.
didn't know that.
I'm gonna refer any questions to the McKee campaign
So-
to the McKee campaign
So
right
Lieutenant
now.
Governor,
Thank you.
your campaign is under criminal investigation, and you expect us to believe you're gonna continue with the campaign. A sitting lieutenant governor running for Congress, and you're under criminal investigation, and you're gonna continue
My
with
cam-
Rhode Island's reputation.
My
And
cam-
you can handle this in Congress.
Do you have a question or you just have a statement? Because I'm here to
You say
answer your
MAGA
questions.
Republicans,
so-
your people are forging dead people in Jamestown. And you think you're gonna go to Congress. Is that correct?
I'm telling you, I'm running a strong campaigns and I'm going to win this campaign.
With dead people.
Governor, one of, the
Next
other
question.
people, one of the other people who collected signatures, there hasn't been a question, is your husband. So it's not all that. Doesn't the buck stop with you? That's what your opponents are saying, that you should have ultimate accountability here for what happens under your watch, whether you hired somebody or not.
Every campaign hires staff to help them do field work and collect signatures. What happened to my campaign, we don't know the details yet. We don't know what happened. You asked the question, was that intentional? I don't know that. I cannot answer that. So we have to wait to find out what is gonna be determined, but we don't have that answer about what happened. And it's too early for my opponents or anybody else to be making accusations that they don't have the facts for.
Do you expect to stay in the race?
I'm staying in the race.
And if there's criminal findings found, will you continue to stay in the race? You keep on blaming the vendor. The campaign stops with you. If there are criminal charges regarding the signatures, this is your campaign.
Let me tell you something. I've been enough to all of you. I have been in public office for more than 12 years.
You keep on saying this. I'm just asking you to answer this
Yes,
question.
and I'm gonna answer your question, right? My guiding principle in public office is I will never do anything that is going to make my parents to feel ashamed of what the work that I have done, or that my children will have to pay for it.
To follow
So yes, I'm gonna defend my name and my family name to the end, and I'm gonna stay in this campaign because they need people like me to go to Washington and fight for every Rhode Islander, and to be an example for little girls that got so happy when I go to see them in Woonsocket because they see someone that looks like them, like something like them, in an elected office. So yes, I'm running this campaign to the end.
To follow up on what you're saying, you've run for office many, many times. This is your most high-profile race so far. Why has it proven so difficult to get enough signatures without running into these problems that have raised a lot of questions?
We did what every campaign does. We relied on volunteers and also some paid field workers. If you ask any other campaign, they do the same thing. We have not done anything intentionally. We have not done anything to defraud the people of Rhode Island. We were victim of someone that unfortunately we trusted and didn't follow our instructions. And I'd be more than glad to provide you with a copy of the instruction that we gave every person that was collecting signatures.
One or two people, there were two, weren't there two field workers who did this? It's not, you keep saying one, isn't it two paid field workers?
We hired a vendor, and the vendor hired it.
Can you
Who was the
explain what a
vendor?
vendor is?
Who's the
Because
vendor?
I'm not exactly sure what a vendor is. Is that an intermediary between you and the people who are doing the work?
Yep.
How does that work?
Yeah, the vendor was Ms. McLaren's firm.
McLaren's firm?
McLaren's firm.
Holly?
Yes.
What's the name of the firm?
I don't
Harmony
do,
Solutions.
sorry.
The vendor's name, the vendor is Harmony Solutions.
Is that fully owned by Holly, or is anyone else involved?
We don't know.
How many people did they hire to work for them under the contract? I mean, did they have like 5 people, 7 people, 1 person, 2?
Yeah, that's not information that I don't think any of us know.
Wait, but Shayna was submitting signatures that Evan was notarizing. How does she not know how does Evan, who notarized it, not know who Shayna is or who Shayna is working for?
Yeah, I think on the notary piece, the notary is simply acknowledging that the person in front of you is who they say they are, not who they work for.
But you're saying Evan didn't know who she was and who she was working for, and then he notarized it.
No. I said the notary just simply says, this is the person in front of me who is signing something.
But so you
Not who you're
But that
employed.
person
So who
attests
was
to having
Shayna working for?
that person attests to having collected those signatures.
Yeah.
All right, so if in fact you don't know who the person is that you're attesting to collect those signatures, how in fact can you have it notarized?
No, you know a person is who they say they are, right? So that's
Right,
all
but you're not,
Who is she?
but the person, the signature that's being notarized, I've done ballot actions
I know.
across the country, all right,
We spoke about it earlier.
is actually the individual who's attesting to have known the people they collected signatures from.
Yeah.
If in fact Evan notarized those, how can he know ultimately who he's notarizing for and on behalf?
So, when Evan notarized a document, it's just saying that the person that came with that page, signed in front of him, says that, yes, I'm the one that collected them. He has no way of knowing anything beyond that.
Could he actually, I'm sorry, no, I'm
Yeah,
sorry to
go ahead.
interrupt,
Yeah.
but could he actually attest to the fact that that person had actually collected those signatures? That's what they're signing on.
No, that's not what he's notarizing. He's notarizing that the person who turned the page is the person in front of him.
Lieutenant Governor,
No,
why,
that's not true.
why wait this long to speak about this, to address this, and why not get out in front of it?
Yeah, I wanted to wait for the Board of Election to go through their process. I didn't want to have any go ahead of it. And plus, honestly, we have been trying to figure out what is going on. We're trying to get more information. I'm giving you whatever we know right now.
How many
But
fraudulent
you
ballots
did
are
prepare
there?
several statements that you sent to the press, so you say you didn't want to comment on it, but you did. You just didn't make yourself available for reporters to question
Yes.
what you were saying.
Reporters were reaching out to my campaign. They wanted a statement. I think it was not right for me to give any statement, any comments directly to the media before the board make their decision.
You
Right.
understand
How
the
many
optics
ballots
of
are
this,
there?
though.
How many fraudulent ballots has your campaign found?
I don't have any,
50, 100?
you're talking about ballots?
No, excuse me, signatures. How many fraudulent signatures were there? I think you did an internal investigation, right?
Yeah, I mean, we are reading the reports that are coming in. I think the complaints, identified 41 forms that Ms. McLaren submitted. We have no way of knowing how many signatures on those forms are valid signatures that she witnessed versus ones that are not valid. That's the purpose of the Attorney
Well, what
General's
about Shana?
investigation.
Her,
This is why the Attorney General is
so
investigating.
you don't know how many signatures are fraudulent?
No, we don't know any
You don't know?
There's
Are
no
you
way for us
prepared to
know.
deal with the consequences if they throw out all those forms from both of those people? That would put you under the limit, under the threshold?
I think, first of all, numerically, the signatures from both those would not put us below the threshold. But again, the Attorney General is going to do an investigation into, which signatures that were submitted were fraudulent, if any, and which ones were not.
How much
That's-
was
That's
Harmony?
the purpose of the signatures.
Sorry, how much was Harmony paid altogether?
I don't have the total for you right now, and we've requested a refund, but the field workers are paid at a rate of $15 an hour.
Braxton, we've all been Googling Holly McLaren this week, and we can find links about things she was involved in New Hampshire that might have given a campaign pause to hire her. Did you Google her before hiring her for this campaign?
She was somebody who was well-known, a well-known field worker in past campaigns, and at the time had a reputation for doing a good work. And so, we had, when we were looking at folks to do field work in this campaign, we had trust that they would act with integrity and with honesty, and obviously that was misplaced.
So the answer is no, that you did not Google her before hiring her for this campaign.
Lieutenant Governor, we spent the entire afternoon, just after the same type of occurrences in the last election, listening to tales of woe about petitioning, about getting on the ballot access in the state. It's chaotic, it's messy. There's no chain of evidence between signatures like there would be on ballots. Is it time to drastically overhaul and reform what is clearly a troubled, messy system?
I think this experience definitely showed that we should take a look about how we can improve the process, but I don't have any particular opinion or recommendation at this moment.
What about East Providence, where your campaign fraudulently put in the city council people? Have you spoken to the people, the city council in East Providence?
I haven't spoken with them.
Have you
no.
spoken to Holly?
I haven't spoken.
Who told you that this was developing? Like, how was it explained to you? By Evan?
I saw the news covering that, the
That's how
information.
you found out in the news?
Yeah, you guys seem to get the scoop of everything.
And what do you say after the endorsements that have come out, that you had false endorsements previously in the campaign, that there's a track record here, that's just not this type of
Again, that's just
one-off?
That's just political attack, and we addressed that before. Every person that I was put on that press release, I spoke with them, and they said they would support me. After that, other people entered the race, and they changed their mind, and I'm okay with that. But I did not put any name in there of anyone that I didn't speak with, and told me that yes, that they would support me.
Governor McKee said he hasn't seen or talked to you this week. You haven't talked to
No, I
Governor
haven't.
McKee?
I haven't spoken with the governor.
Haven't
yet.
spoken to him
No.
in the midst of all this?
No.
Is
No.
that unusual, or?
No, I have been very worried and concerned trying to figure out what's going on, and I have been spending a lot of time trying to learn what's going on, honestly.
So not speaking to the governor, what do you say to doing your duties as lieutenant governor then?
I have been doing my duties as lieutenant governor. And don't forget, lieutenant governor, the governor, secretary of state, attorney general is a 24/7 position, the treasurer also.
What's your message to voters who see this scandal throughout the news to vote for you?
So that's the part that hurts me the most, is I have worked really hard to do the right thing and to make sure that doing politics the right way, and to have my name associated with this, it really it hurts me. But most importantly, it worries me that the voters may not have faith in the democratic process.
What's your
What do the
best,
steps
what's your
look
best
like?
guess of why this happened to your campaign and not the dozens of other campaigns?
If I give you an answer, it's gonna be speculating, and I don't wanna do that. I'm waiting to see what the investigation tell us.
What do the steps look like for your campaign moving forward from this, trying to get that voter trust back?
again, I have a track record of being an elected office for more than 12 years. The voters know me. The people that I have worked with for years know me. And by the way, I just want to take an opportunity to thank all of those individuals that have reached out to me to show support and to reassure me that they know me and that they know that who's being described out there is not me. So thank you to everyone that has reached out.
I'm sorry, could you tell us, why, I'm sorry, let me word this.
Lieutenant Governor, can I go back to Holly McLaren's company? So you guys hired them as a vendor and you didn't even know how many workers that vendor was going to enlist on your behalf, is that correct?
Wrexham.
Hi. The vendor had just begun work just a couple of weeks ago. They had been doing work for a period of fewer than 2 weeks. There was a plan to hire somewhere in the ballpark of 6 workers. They had just begun that recruitment process. We've requested those records on who they ultimately recruited and hired and paid. We don't have that yet, but we're seeking to find that now.
And did you hire any field workers outside of those through this one vendor?
No.
How many workers in total did the campaign have collecting signatures?
Most of the signature gathering was collected by volunteers and supporters outside of this vendor. As I think somebody Brian pointed out, Patrick, the Lieutenant Governor's husband, collected some as well.
There are established companies out there that have a regional and national presence to gather signatures. Why not hire them as opposed to someone whose track record is interesting?
This is somebody who had a experience working in Rhode Island field work, and clearly that trust was misplaced as we move forward in this campaign. Certainly, there's lots of things we'd like to do differently in hindsight, and hiring somebody different to do this work, someone that we could have trusted to work with integrity, is one of them.
And where can we see the contract that exists between her firm and yours? And in fact, is that firm qualified to do business in the state of Rhode Island?
Yeah, there was no written contract with the vendor.
Really? That's highly unusual in that field. Again, that's highly unusual.
Yeah, in my experience with vendors, there are oftentimes there are written contracts, oftentimes there are not written contracts.
Not in that
pretty
field.
Standard.
No, not in that field. There exist clear boundaries in terms of.
We'll respectfully disagree.
They were paid by the hour, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And how many hours, how would you know how many hours they worked?
Because of the short timeline in which they were engaged with the campaign, we have not yet received that accounting, and in fact, we are asking for those documents right now.
So you don't know how many hours they in fact worked?
No, not yet.
Can I
Is
ask the
Holly
attorney just one more question?
refusing your phone calls, not picking up the phone, and unfindable?
We've made these requests to Contemporary Council.
It's been reported that if this is proven true, that it's a felony. Is that your interpretation as well?
If which part is proven
If
true?
the Jamestown situation, where someone who's deceased, the signature was put in that was fraud, do you accept that is a felony? Is that your interpretation as well?
I mean, look, I think there are clearly criminal penalties with respect to this within the statute. So that.
And so if there were 40 examples, that would be 40 felonies. Is that correct?
40 examples of
40 examples of signature fraud.
I think that's a question for the Attorney General.
But you don't have an interpretation of that?
That's not what I've been focused on, no.
We've heard a lot about Holly, but what about Shayna Gallagher, the woman who submitted paperwork in East Providence with the city councilor's signatures who were fraudulent?
We're still finding out, as we just mentioned a moment ago, who in fact was engaged with this vendor. We have reason to believe that she was, but we are looking to confirm that now.
You believe she was on that one vendor that you spoke of?
Was engaged with the vendor, yes.
Is her 1099, as it were, going to a corporation, to an individual? Have you done any research on that whatsoever?
I can't. I don't have the information to answer that right now.
So if we can reflect back, there's no contract, there's no understanding of what the compensation structure truly was, there was no budget for this, There was no, was there any track record? Did they have any references in terms of petition gathering? It's a technical area. It's not this isn't stuffing and folding envelopes.
Again, I'll reiterate that the vendor in question had a well-known reputation in being involved in Democratic campaigns and was imagined to do good work. And we imagine that we want every vendor that works with our campaign to operate with integrity and honesty. That clearly didn't happen here. As John mentioned, that this arrangement was what was in the normal course of business in campaigns. We've requested these records and these documents from the vendor, and we've yet to receive them, but we are looking forward to receiving them.
Lieutenant Governor, have you spoken with the state police?
No,
Have you reached out to the state police?
I'm waiting to see if anyone's gonna reach out to me. Why?
They are investigating, correct?
Well,
Are
if
you
they-
aware of that, or?
I read about it, but if they want to speak with me, they know where to find me.
And the Attorney General's office, have you spoken to them?
Haven't spoken with him either.
Will you make yourself available to sit
I
with them?
already said I have made I instructed my campaign to provide any documentation
But it
that the
sounds like
Attorney
there's
General
no
asks.
contract, so there's limited records, is that correct?
So, well, that would be the job of the Attorney General and the state police to request whatever they need, and we're gonna cooperate with them with whatever they need.
Do you think this is a fair issue on the campaign trail? Like, do you think this is a fair issue for people to bring up regarding your candidacy?
Why?
Why? Because your campaign is under criminal investigation for Congress. You're sitting lieutenant governor. It's unprecedented. We haven't seen you all week. And you ask why? Is that the question? You don't think that this is an issue?
Okay, do you have a question?
Yes.
What is your question?
Do you accept that this is an issue as part of the campaign?
This, again.
You were part of some kind of a forum the other day, and the people involved with it said they were instructed not to mention this. So my point is, do you think is this?
That's not true.
Yeah.
That's not true. That's not true. That's not
what
true.
they say.
I actually was
You don't think- you don't think it's an issue?
expecting the question, and I actually thought that my opponents were gonna bring it up.
Okay, so
And
you
I
don't
was
think
waiting
it's
for it, and they didn't bring
not
it
an
up.
issue,
So
not an
now,
issue.
I'm ready, and I'm ready to answer to my opponents. This has been a really tough week for me, to have to be quiet and let everybody just say whatever they want. Not anymore.
Why did you have to be quiet?
You didn't have to.
You could have spoken out. You were releasing
Because,
statements.
as I said earlier, I was waiting for the board to make the decision before speaking out to the media.
Which of your rivals do you believe have politicized this issue, as you said earlier?
Several of them have done it.
Would you identify
Some
them by
of them,
name?
I have to say, have been very decent in have expressed some sort of support in some way and understanding for what I'm going through, and I want to thank those. I'm not going to share names unless they're okay with. So if they're okay with me sharing their name, I will share their
What about the
names.
ones who you believe have politicized this? Will you identify those candidates by name?
Oh, you've just covered a press conference this morning for one of them. I think they were trying to get their as much as they could out of the situation for free publicity. So
When do you
if
go
you
back-
want to give
Governor,
them
there's
more,
a-
you can
There's
give
a
them more.
dozen other Democratic candidates in this race. This has been all over the news all week. Did you expect none of them to bring it up or question the competency of the campaign or your leadership as a result of that?
Well, we had a forum. There was opportunity for them to bring it up, and I thought they were going to bring it up. It's easier to go to Twitter and tweet about it, but I was waiting for them to bring it up directly to me.
Do you think this speaks to your
Are you going
leadership?
back to work on Monday?
I've been working every day. I work 7 days a week.
You worked this past week,
I
but
work-
not at your office.
I work every day.
Okay.
I
Governor
work
McKee's-
every day for the people in Rhode Island. Every
what-
day, the 7 days.
Why didn't you go to the press conference today regarding Route 37?
Again, we were working,
Okay.
trying
What
to
about
gather
Monday?
information
Governor
for
McKee's going to be
this.
at Rocky Point. Are you going to be with him at Rocky Point on Monday?
Probably. Would
You
love
will
to
be
go
there.
I'd love to go to Rocky Point.
Has he-
I'll let you
question
know.
for you.
I'll
Has-
confirm. I'll let you know.
With regard to today's proceedings,
I love Warwick.
was the campaign truly exonerated, or was the charge dropped because of the lack of presence of a qualified individual to pursue the charge?
I'm happy to answer that. I think as the Mr. Marcaccio, the counsel for the board, was indicating, there were multiple reasons that this objection was going to be dismissed. That obviously was one of them. It wasn't signed, and in fact, they did not object to enough signatures to actually drop Lieutenant Governor below 500. What's very clear is if you look at the complaint, there are 534 signatures that remain unchallenged, that were accepted by the boards of canvasser across the state, that were accepted by the Secretary of State's office, and that were not challenged in the complaint. So that if that had proceeded to the merits, that would have been the ruling. You were there today and you're very experienced in this. They were focused on the math. How many unchallenged signatures were there for each campaign? 534 for this campaign, over the 500 threshold.
Focusing on the math means that we waited until this afternoon before we made this statement, came here, which means that you were safely on the ballot before you decided to speak out in a press conference like this. It feels like you were kind of holding off until you knew you were safe before you spoke to the press.
No, I would say I was holding off until the decision of the board.
Mhm.
It's two different things.
But it equivocates to being safe, like you were called safe at home and then you said, okay, now I can go out.
What about, I cannot guess what the decision of the board was going to be, so.
Right.
Mark, do you have any worries going forward? Like if you're leaving locally, growing, do you have any worries on a larger scale that something like this would happen? And if so, how would you do it differently?
Well, I think that this is a learning opportunity, not just for my campaign, but for everyone, every other campaign in the future running for office. So I think there's a lot of lessons that all of us can learn from what happened here.
Holly was terminated from your campaign?
The vendor was terminated.
And who fired her?
The person who hired her,
Which was who?
my campaign manager.
Okay, and how was she notified?
By email.
By email. So this happens, and you don't call her and say, what happened here? This happens, it breaks, and no one says, let's hear your side of things?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy that, we did reach out to her counsel.
Her counsel?
Her counsel.
Who's her counsel?
She has counsel.
She does?
And we reached out to her counsel and have not received a substantive answer as to what her question
Was that on Monday night?
I don't remember the exact day, it was earlier this week.
So
yeah.
it breaks in the news. She already has a lawyer set up, is that correct?
By the time we were prepared to reach out to her, our understanding was that she had a lawyer.
Who is
Has
that?
it,
I don't remember the person's name.
has this impacted fundraising at all? Have you seen any ups, downs, dips?
Let me tell you, right now, I'm not thinking about money or fundraising. I'm thinking about making sure that the people of Rhode Island trust the democratic process. And that has been my priority.
Isn't that a barometer, though, of the, if you will, of the status of the campaign and people's either taking a front at or perhaps doubling down and diving in to support you? Isn't that the ultimate test?
Let me tell you, at this moment, money and fundraising is not a priority.
Okay.
Do you think this issue has damaged your campaign?
I believe people know me, and my campaign is in a strong position, and I'm gonna be able to win this campaign.
Now, I believe that's your husband coming in. He collected signatures. Can we ask him what it was like in collecting the signatures?
My husband is not running for office.
Okay.
You can
But
ask me any
he
questions.
did collect signatures, correct?
We already talked about this,
Okay.
Braxton told you, yes,
So
and it's on
starting
the
Monday,
record.
are
Yes.
you're gonna do your job as lieutenant governor and run the campaign for CDY?
I have been doing my job as lieutenant governor every day.
Well, I think Brian Crandall went to your house, no one answered, they went to the office, no one would answer anything.
So do you
It
think?
seemed like you were AWOL.
Do you believe that the work of lieutenant governor only happens in the office at my house? Then you're mistaken. Next
right.
question.
So were you doing events somewhere else?
No, next question. Somebody else.
Does anybody else has any questions? Because I don't think
Honestly-
John has any question.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Folks, we're signing out.
Thank you everyone for coming, the short notice, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.